I have been a content creator for such a long time, but I haven't actually posted any productions yet, but I'm working on it. All of my stories contain several characters that I made myself. I made over 1,000 characters in about 10 years, but today I'm going to go into detail about the most iconic character that I have ever created. And yes, he is a Mario character. This is my very first time actually sharing one of my own characters, so let's get started with what led up to this whole thing. This is a pretty long and compelling origin story, so just kick back and enjoy. Back in early 2017, there was a huge debate going on throughout my family, more like a debate among a bunch of children. Some of my cousins had come over to my Nana's house to visit, so we thought we'd come too. Little did I know that they were also Mario fans, but they were not the kind of fans that I would have expected. All they talked about was a theory that Bowser was actually the hero and Mario was the villain. This upset me a lot because at the time, I was super opinionated and would get mad if anyone ever insulted Mario or said he is not a hero. This had gone on for quite a while because they visited so often, and they made this whole thing so much of a big deal that it led to a long period of research and rivalry. About a few weeks later, we thought it would be a good idea to set up a tent in my brother's bedroom and spend the night. This was before I moved, so we still shared bedrooms. Before we actually went to bed, we decided to watch some YouTube videos. We watched a lot of Mario related videos because we are all super big Mario fans. At one point though, I was trying to search through whatever was recommended next, and I misclicked on a certain video, to which I immediately backed out and then thought, you know what, I'm actually a bit curious about what I misclicked on. Let's see what it was. And this video was just one of the building blocks that inspired me to create such a memorable Mario character. It was a 5-minute animation by NDY titled Mario's Nightmare. If you haven't seen it, I totally recommend it because it is awesome. And if you have seen it, you might be thinking, how did this inspire you to create your most iconic character? Well, just you wait, I'm almost there. Now, back to that little family debate thing going on. I was eager to find actual evidence behind my cousin's claims, stating that Bowser is the hero instead of Mario. What I came across was phenomenal. This is what introduced me to mods. I had no idea that any of these actually existed, but then again, this was in 2017, so don't be like, oh Annalise, how did you not know what mods are? I thought you were a super huge video game fan. I'm going to be honest about two things. First off, I also didn't know that mods were actually playable, and two, I thought that only the most elite gamers could play mods. I never initially got any mods until SuperLink got me the Mario 64 multiplayer mod, and I had to ask somebody to mod my 3DS because I didn't know how to do it myself. Now, you know I've created such a phenomenal character if the backstory is this long and contains this much detail. So you're probably wondering, what game was it and what mod? The game was my absolute favorite 2D Mario game of all time, New Super Mario Bros Wii. And the mod? Well, if you've played the game and beat it, you should know that the final boss scene goes a little like this. First, you encounter Bowser on the typical bridge and have to get past him in order to press a switch that will drop him into a pit. Then you realize that Kamek was pretending to be Peach, only to start the second phase by making Bowser giant. Then he chases you all the way to the real Peach, which ends the final battle of the game just by pressing a very not so suspiciously exposed switch. The first mod I have ever encountered, however, was titled New Super Bowser Wii, which literally just swapped the positions of Mario and Bowser entirely. You play as Bowser throughout the game and then encounter Mario to go through the same final boss fight I just went over. In my opinion, these models actually look pretty sick. They also included the fiery eyes on Mario. Then I found another mod that made it feel like Bowser was straight up non-existent, and it's just Mario versus Mario. Also, I didn't see any of these videos with the sound on until the spring of 2023 because while the models are switched, the voices are normal, which means that Bowser sounded like Mario and Mario sounded like Bowser. No, listen to this. See? Look, I was in the 6th grade when this happened, so don't judge me, alright? During the spring of 2017, I was finally inspired to create my most iconic character ever. So we've got indie-wise, Mario's Nightmare, and this new Super Mario Bros Wii mod. I observed the mod a lot until one day I saw Mario in this mod and thought about making him an actual character. So what happened was I felt uncomfortable with the video titles. They just said Evil Mario, and I felt like just calling him Mario would be bland and confusing. Then I thought about Mario's Nightmare and the type of character I was going to create, considering how I saw both videos around the same time, even though Mario's Nightmare came out in 2015. Obviously, I was going to make a couple of changes first. First of all, he was not going to sound like Bowser. Instead, his voice would be like Mario's but lower, because, you know, most giant characters have deep voices. And instead of slouching like Bowser, he would stand up straight. Because I liked the concept of the second phase so much, mainly because the first phase is literally just the same Mario, this Mario was obviously going to be a giant, including the fiery eyes. Therefore, this is his cannon size. Also, the ability to breathe fire, I kept it and added the typical shooting fire like you would with a fire flower, as well as a very obvious lava immunity ability. So now that the changes are in, what is his name? Well, considering the concept of the mod and this character as a whole, and with Mario's Nightmare in mind, I had the perfect name. So, the most iconic character I have ever created is none other than Nightmare Mario. So, what's next? Let's talk about some cameos. I started doing this sort of roleplay thing back in 2016 and added Nightmare Mario to it a year later, but it never became an actual production because it was just bad. Still, I was in the 6th grade, so I ditched it in 2018 and never brought it back. This was some sort of roleplay thing where Mario and Nightmare Mario were actually the same character, but I honestly think it's better to view them as two different characters for the sake of better storylines. But here is an idea that actually stayed alive. During the summer of 2017, I decided to create my main series titled Mario Legends, which I don't have a lot to reveal yet because I haven't finished it yet. Nightmare Mario's actual debut was in the 2nd chapter of the first story. You would think that he would be the antagonist at this point, but no. There's a full series of character development throughout the series. So what happened was, Nightmare Mario posed as a rival to Mario and the character I named after myself. Every time he appeared in the first Mario Legends, he would usually try to capture them both, well, mainly Mario, and like the rest of the giants throughout this universe, eat both of them. Look, I know the whole giants eating humans thing has been done to death, but honestly, who cares? The reasoning behind that is actually hidden somewhere further into Mario Legends and a couple of other things. It was during my freshman year of high school when I started the sequel to Mario Legends, and yes, Nightmare Mario made several appearances, because that's when the character development started to kick in. Near the end of Mario Legends 2, Nightmare Mario finds out who he really is, what his destiny is, and why he had been the way he was prior to the character development. During my 8th grade year, I have been working on Mario Legends for such a long time, and Nightmare Mario became a lot more iconic to me at the time, and so I had this idea where I would create another series just for him. And guess what? The timeline there actually overlaps with the timeline of Mario Legends. Therefore, it's sort of the exact same story, but instead of it being in my own character's point of view, it's in Nightmare Mario's point of view. This means that you, the viewers, can see a side of his story that the main characters of Mario Legends would have never suspected. And a few days before my birthday in 2018, I wrote the first chapter of Nightmare Mario's very own series. This production explains why Nightmare Mario has always been trying to capture and eat both Mario and the production's Annalise. It's because of something Bowser did 500 years prior to this story's time. The Koopas went to war against this race of fiery giants because at the time they were at peace with humanity, and Bowser was trying to find a way to turn them against the humans, mainly just to get rid of Mario. But it got way worse than that. Because the Koopas won the war, they took away every food source the giants had, which threw them into a terrible famine. The only solution the giants had left was to prey on the humans they were once at peace with. At this point, Bowser had gotten what he wanted. Therefore, during Nightmare Mario's time, The famine was still a big issue, and humanity was still the prey of the fiery giants. Early into the first story, Nightmare Mario realizes that Bowser poses more of a threat to his people, but that was after his first attempt to eat Mario and the production's Annalise. At this point, however, he decided that he would only try to eat both of them to increase his power and get revenge on Bowser himself. This change made Nightmare Mario very different from the rest of the giants, and so they believed he was a fool and treated him very poorly because none of them are 500 years old, so they have no idea what actually happened to their culture 500 years ago. They just believed it was always the way it was. But that didn't mean Nightmare Mario was completely alone, for I created more characters to aid him, which also took the appearance of Mario characters. A few examples include the characters such as Midnight Luigi, Twilight Peach, Sunset Daisy, and Rosaluna. These characters were created shortly after I created Nightmare Mario, and I didn't find their new Super Mario Bros Wii mods until after I created them. They don't have the same Nightmare title because I wanted to add some diversity to them, and the names I chose turned out to be the most fitting. Midnight Luigi is the giant doppelganger of Luigi. They both carried the same characteristics in personality and interests. The mod I found of Midnight Luigi wasn't as high quality as Nightmare Mario's, but my only gripe about it is that the model is not as animated and could have been given the same treatment as his twin brother. Twilight Peach is the giantess doppelganger of Princess Peach. She is also a princess, but she is not often treated like one by her own people. Twilight Peach's new Super Mario Bros Wii mod is also low quality, and it's worse than Midnight Luigi's because it looks like her hair is cutting through her body. Sunset Daisy is the giantess doppelganger of Princess Daisy. This giantess isn't actually a princess, but she is only treated like a princess by her companions. Sunset Daisy's new Super Mario Bros Wii mod has the exact same quality as Twilight Peach's. It's literally just a recolor of Peach. Rosaluna is the giantess doppelganger of Rosalina. Unlike her human twin, she is more interested in the practice of magic. I was never able to find a mod with Rosaluna until I started looking for example footage for this video, but I still added her to the cast regardless. Her name means Lunar Rosalina, but I thought that merging the two together would be more fitting. I didn't work on Nightmare Mario's production as much as I worked on Mario Legends because I was more focused on that, but I was 13 chapters into his first production when, during the fall of 2020, I looked over my current progress in Mario Legends and decided that the whole thing needed to be remastered. Do you know why? Well, maybe it's because I was in the 6th grade when I wrote it. So I finished both Mario Legends and Mario Legends 2 and decided to put off Mario Legends 3 until the first two were fully remastered. And when I say that, I mean the entire thing needed a full reset. I didn't finish Mario Legends 2 until the end of 2021, and I spent the entirety of 2022 working on other stuff because I don't just do Mario content. I also do a lot of Kid Icarus content along with a few other parodies, which I will be doing more character reveals for later. This meant a lot for a Nightmare Mario series because I was only 13 chapters in, and I felt like there was no point in going any further following the crappy content that I wrote during middle school. So I dropped all of my current progress I made in Nightmare Mario series so far and decided to restart. The original plan was to do it whenever Mario Legends was ready, but since both timelines overlapped, I also had the option to rewrite both Mario Legends and Nightmare Mario at the same time, and that's what I went with instead. The reason why I thought that it was easier because if I wrote Mario Legends first, then I would have to search through the whole thing while writing Nightmare Mario, and it probably would not turn out as well as it is just by doing them both at once. But yeah, that's it until the remasters, but there's a few other cameos that I don't have too much info on yet, but we'll get there. Okay, so I've talked a lot about my side of the story, so let's move on to a few others. The first people I shared Nightmare Mario with were obviously my brothers, but I never told them about the story I just went over. So if you guys are watching this video, you've just learned something about Nightmare Mario that you didn't know before. Then I introduced him to my little sister, and at the time she could be a bit crazy. She tried to reveal Nightmare Mario to my parents at one point without my consent, but I constantly interrupted her, so they have no idea that I ever created this character. All was fine until I started spreading the word at school. I was only able to tell a few friends about Nightmare Mario, and there's a good reason why. This all happened when I went to private school, which was a very long time ago, and private school was most likely the worst place to share my own content. There were many Mario fans, and a few of them also knew about NDY's Mario's Nightmare, and very little about the mods in New Super Mario Bros Wii, because, well, that was probably what went viral throughout the community at the time. But little did I know that other people had different views and opinions about everything I knew about. But then again, I was in the 6th grade with high-functioning autism, and I didn't realize that growing up, but I was also attending a private school until after 7th grade. But whenever I brought up Nightmare Mario to these people, they thought that I was referring to something else that had absolutely nothing to do with him. Apparently, they were referring to some horror games, but I was like, no, that's wrong. I have never pictured Nightmare Mario in a horror game because it just doesn't fit his character. Oh, it's because he has the word nightmare in his name, Annalise. What were you expecting? Shut up! This is what I came up with, and I'm sticking with it no matter what. Ever since that day, I just stopped sharing anything I created because I was going through a lot of stress and anxiety throughout middle school. And at the same time, I barely ever brought up Nightmare Mario to anyone at all past 7th grade, which made everyone I did introduce him to eventually forget about him, and I didn't want to have to explain everything again. Also, the popularity of the mod eventually decreased, and explaining it again past that honestly felt awkward because, unlike most people nowadays, I don't forget about the things I like. However, there were a couple of golden moments back in 2018 whenever my family heard that Smash Ultimate was coming out soon, and I was super excited about it. One of my brothers was watching one of the trailers with me, and it featured the cutscene in World of Light where all of the puppet fighters were created. He saw the glowing red eyes in Mario, and you know what he said? He said, "Annalise, Nightmare Mario is gonna be in the new Smash game." And I was like, wait, what? Except he was not a giant, except the Starship Mario battle and the Freya and Freya battle if you're playing as Mario. So that didn't fully count, but it's close enough. I think I tried something out starting in Smash 4 where I would try to make it look like Nightmare Mario was in Smash, even though he actually wasn't. Even if this actually did happen at some point, I'm also aware that the developers had a bit of issues with the sizes of certain characters. Take Bowser and Ridley for instance. But if I ever found some way to mod Smash, then I think I know how I'll be able to make it work. It won't be like Mario or Dr. Mario where they have nearly the same moveset because there's a couple of more unique things about Nightmare Mario that I could add to his moveset. Surely there were some more cool moments a while back, but I've been on my own since 2019, which was when everyone forgot about Nightmare Mario. Except for me, of course. But it was during my senior year in high school when I started to get better at socializing. Therefore, I was able to bring up some old stuff again. For example, during band camp, I had designed a bunch of logos, including 2 for Nightmare Mario series, and put them on the wall in my closet. One day, one of my brothers and I were trying to look for a game I misplaced. It was Wind Waker HD, and he looked in my closet and saw the logos. Apparently, he's still somewhat new about Nightmare Mario but never said anything, even though I haven't mentioned him to anyone for 3 years. Also, we did talk more about New Super Mario Bros Wii and the mods in the spring last year, which lightened my confidence even more. So, you're probably thinking, of all the characters I have created, though I have only revealed a few so far, more are coming. Why is Nightmare Mario the most iconic? It's because there isn't a single character I made whose backstory is like this. Though I feel like I've covered enough for you to at least get the idea. I will also be revealing more characters in a couple other videos because I like them a lot, and they really helped me grow as a content creator. I mean, people reveal their own characters all the time, so now it's my turn. I also found a comment under one of the mod videos that had something similar to Nightmare Mario's name in it, and I absolutely freaked out when I saw it. But this was posted literally a month after I created Nightmare Mario's character, so sorry, but I beat you to it. So you're not the only one who would have thought of that? Ow! Over the years, I've definitely been doing a lot with Nightmare Mario, whether it's writing stories, doing art, or composing music. But I feel like since it all started, I've just been more fascinated by giants in general as much as I care about angels. About 3 to 5 years in, I also created more giants who are naturally born with a specific elemental ability, to which, of course, Nightmare Mario is obviously a fire giant. Then I added 6 more elements in 2020: ice, water, forest, lightning, earth, and wind. None of the other elementals have ever actually interacted with humans because, according to the plot of the series, Bowser has never had any beef with any of them except the fire giants. The reasons why would most likely be because fire is the most destructive element, and Bowser, like the fire giants, also breathes fire. Do y'all get what I'm saying? The last thing I wanted to bring up is the clues that I sent out and what they were all supposed to mean. If you missed it, I sent out 5 different community posts with a hint that would get closer to what this video would be about. The first hint was that Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy, and Rosalina were all involved, meaning that the created characters would be used in a Mario parody and that 5 characters would be revealed total. Another thing that this hint could line up with is that all 5 characters are doppelgangers of each other. The second hint is that the characters were inspired by new Super Mario Bros Wii. I wasn't too specific about this hint, but it should have been a sign that some sort of the content would be from that game. The third hint was a picture of a bonfire, meaning that the characters had some sort of fiery ability. The fourth hint was the picture from New Super Bowser Wii, which should have been a dead giveaway that this mod was heavily involved here. The fifth and final hint was a side-by-side comparison of the actual game versus the mod, and Nightmare Mario was indeed in that picture. I honestly had a lot of fun coming up with these clues, and I would like to do it again for future character reveals this year. So, what do you guys think? This video took a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of courage, and a whole lot of nostalgia to make. If you're interested in Nightmare Mario and you want to see him in action, or if you also want to see any of these characters more often too, I'll figure out how I can do that because this is the best I can do for now. I've also got some more art I could possibly show off if you'd like. I even composed Nightmare Mario's theme, which I made up all by myself, so that means it is an original piece. I'm gonna drop it on the platform this Friday. I mean, it's playing in the background right now if you're looking for a preview. Also, in a community post, I said that I would explain why this video was postponed to April because we're coming up on 7 years of Nightmare Mario being in my life now. For real, the viewers might think the same as the other people you've shared this guy with. You should probably rethink your